The following is a production by Lone Star Community Radio, Montgomery County's community radio station. You can support Lone Star Community Radio by donating and sponsoring programs just like this. For more information, check us out online at irlonestar.com. This segment is brought to you by...
Since 2004, Roger Stein Chiropractic has offered spine and joint manipulation services to residents of Montgomery County and surrounding areas. Conditions treated include lower back pain, migraines, headaches, whiplash, carpal tunnel, neck pain, sciatica, joint pain, sports injuries, herniated discs, and complications from pregnancy. Roger Stein Chiropractic, led by Dr. Stacy Rogers and Dr. Brian McGee, is an integrity-verified chiropractic clinic. Call 936-441-9990 for an appointment, or visit rogerssteinchiropractic.com. That's RODGERSSTEIN chiropractic.com.
Team Sinisi is a proud sponsor of Conroe Culture News. Vinny Sinisi and his professional team provide comprehensive real estate services throughout the greater Montgomery County area and beyond. Whether looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, Team Sinisi has an impeccable reputation. Contact Team Sinisi for a great experience at teamsinisi.com. That's TEAMSINISI.com.
You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCCLP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
And we are back this afternoon, with Laura Watson. She's going to tell us all about her candidacy for County Court of Law 3. And there's 6 County Court of Laws. Well, there's about to be, right, Laura?
That's correct. So we have 5 that are currently in effect, and County Court of Law number 6 has just recently been passed by the legislature, and it will go into effect after this next voting session, starting January 1 of 2023.
2023.
Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
So we're just priming ourselves up.
Yes, we are.
And speaking of that, so the primary, as we know today, is March 1st.
That's correct.
So, and if you don't understand what that means that Republican and Democrat, you vote for the Republican you want to represent that position. And I don't think there's any Democrats running for any positions, are they, as far as County Court of Law?
At this time, no. And so we all just continue to pray and knock on all the wood and hope that it stays that way. But thus far, I have not heard any rumors. I think all of us are looking at it as straight primary ticket.
Okay, so then that person will advance to the general voting in November of 2022.
Correct.
And when they are voted, whoever is elected then will take over January 2022.
Correct. They would be sworn
January
in
1st.
On January 1st.
As always.
Of 2023.
Correct. Yes, 2023. Wow, we're just jumping ahead here.
2022
Boom.
is just already banging on the door.
Oh, yeah,
so.
yeah. Okay. So, all right, County Court of Law 3. Tell me a little bit about the role as a judge in that court.
So we went about 7 or 8 years ago, when I say we, the county, had shifted over, and the board of judges determined that the courts would go into a specialization, feeling that would be more productive and efficient to be able to get through the cases within our county. So County Court at Law number 3 has now been determined as a family specialization court. And in that, so basically we hear anything that is family related, divorces, modifications, what we call habeas corpuses or contempts for people that have violated an underlying court order. The most fun thing, obviously, is adoptions. Everybody loves those. This particular court also encompasses the Child Welfare Court, which people commonly refer to as CPS. But everything that comes into this particular court is strictly dealing with families and touching on families.
So does this handle cases with CASA advocates as well?
Absolutely.
Because I've been on that part of the end.
Yes. So CASA is traditionally involved and most always involved in the child welfare cases that run through this. And so they typically serve as what we call a guardian ad litem to make recommendations for the best interest of the children in the cases.
And that's a strong position to be an advocate, a CASA advocate, because
Yes.
they're pretty neutral, but they always represent the child.
They
First
are
most.
Yes, and I can't say enough about CASA. It's a wonderful organization. I mean, these folks, number one, they are volunteers. They sacrifice their own time. They actually go out into the field, meet these children, and see these children in the environment which they are currently living or get placed into, and then come back and basically share that information with the court and the judge to essentially make recommendations from that point forward on the child is thriving, the child is struggling, we need to make some changes, things like that. Now, they don't technically serve as an expert per se, but they serve as essentially an extension or the eyes and the ears of the court, because obviously the court can't go out to all of these homes because sadly we have a lot of children that need some assistance out in our county.
Absolutely, and that's a good way of generally telling the story about what CASA advocates do. I myself have been a CASA advocate, and I know it's challenging at times. So this court works with that in CPS cases, and I know you have a heart for adoptions as well. Now, didn't your family experience something with that?
Actually, on multiple levels. So my father actually adopted me when my parents got married. They got married when I was 5. He adopted me when I was 6. So obviously that is something that's very near and dear to my heart. And then here recently, in the end of June, my husband adopted now our children. Coming up on wedding anniversary number 9 in February, and so our kids came up and asked him, said, they call him D. D, you've been our dad all of these years. We want you to officially be our dad.
That's so cool.
It's amazing. So cool. And so we were very blessed. And so needless to say, they can't wait. They got so excited when the new birth certificates came in and everybody put Watson on the back of their letter jackets. So we are super proud.
That is fun. That one whole big family,
Absolutely.
Right? And how many kids do you have?
So we have 2.
You have 2 kids. Okay, so let's go backwards a little bit. So you have signed up at this point to be a candidate for County Court of Law 3. Why?
So officially, I am filing my application tomorrow, but nonetheless, I am filing for this because I believe in the last almost 18 years that I have been practicing family law here primarily in Montgomery County, I have fallen in love with the concept of representing and being the voices of children. And so in the last 8 or 9 years, I have shifted the majority of my private practice to serving in what we call the role of an amicus. So an amicus attorney is a combination of a guardian ad litem, like a CASA, and an attorney ad litem who is there to represent essentially the wishes of a child. And so we combine those in the role of an amicus, and that's what we serve usually in the family aspects of the courts, the non-child welfare cases. And so I have found that when children are caught in the middle, what happens a lot of times are they become the pawns.
Yeah.
And a very tragic time in a family, whether it be a divorce or a modification or whatever. And the children are usually forgotten in the sense of how they feel and how it impacts them. I say family law is good people on bad behavior. They don't mean to hurt the kids, but a lot of times the children become the pawns. And so I decided I wanted to be the voices to help those children where they were protected, where I can say, Mom, Dad, this is not the way we act. No, we're not going to discuss this case in front of little Johnny. No, Susie is not going to tell you where she wants to live. She loves both of you.
That's so hard. Oh my gosh.
It's very hard. I try to tell children all the time, that's what makes them so special is they have 2 people that love them so much. And each part of that parent, as Judge Hamilton used to say all the time, 50% of each parent is what makes that child so amazing and so special. And a lot of times the kids don't hear that.
Now, she's a good advocate, too.
Yes, she is. I can't say enough. I had the honor of being able to work with her for about 1.5 years when I first got out of law school. And she is not only a great advocate, but a great teacher and a fabulous judge. So thank you, Judge Hamilton. Appreciate it.
She's awesome. She's awesome. Okay, so what would make you a good judge? Tell me a little bit about your background and your experience.
So I believe it's multifold. When I first got out of college, the first thing I got into was corporate America. And because of where I was located, I went to school out in West Texas at Texas Tech University. And in the process of doing that, rolled into contract food service management. I mean, it's not glamorous, but it's a great experience in learning how to actually manage and run businesses. I think from that experience, after doing that almost 12 years, I worked all the way from an entry-level management up to being a regional level, what we call troubleshooter, for lack of a better word. I would go in and fix troubled accounts where we were about to lose a contract, reorganize them, reestablish them, rebuild the customer and the client confidence in us, and then move on. And then I finished my career with that type of business as a district manager based out of Denver, managing approximately 8 accounts of my own. So in the process of doing that, it taught me budgeting skills, managerial skills, both personnel, fiscal, and just general concepts of policies and procedures. I've been able to utilize that in my private practice by running my own practice and starting out and establishing myself in the community and doing that. I think those skills can help me in terms of managing a court, because a court is just as much an issue of management as it is about the law, at least in my opinion. You have to manage a staff. We're managing taxpayer dollars. We're managing budgets. And we're managing dockets, most importantly. And one of the things, because Montgomery County is one of the fastest growing counties, not only in the state but in the nation, having over 620,000 people here, we have to be able to find a way to make sure that every one of those citizens, when in need, can get access to that court and can get resolution through that court. Because what they need, again, a family in trauma, is they need closure. They can't start healing until we give them closure.
Not months and months away.
Exactly. And what's happening that I am seeing and personally experiencing as a practicing attorney is the time to be able to get in to get that relief and request that relief and actually getting closure is starting to expand, which in my opinion is the worst thing that
What's
can
the
be
norm?
Well, according to our code, we're supposed to have cases closed in 6 months. Now, I will tell you, practicing that's very difficult when you have issues of experts that you have to bring, a forensic accountant or a custody evaluator. So obviously what most of our courts are saying is we really try to make sure that they're done by a year. What's happening now is we're seeing cases that are going on 2, 3, and sometimes 2, 3 years and even longer.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
That's horrible.
It is terrible.
It's horrible for the kids.
And you have families and children in limbo that entire time. All they want is an answer and tell me what's going to happen. And so that's when it gets hard, not only on the families, but when I talk to these children and I have to go hug them and assure them that it's going to be okay, it's hard because
Do they
say
trust you?
Well, that's my whole focus is to build a rapport. So yes, I think they do. Now there's some that they've
very
been
gratifying.
trained and stuff, but when I get those thank you notes from the kiddos, and I continue to this day to get Christmas cards and graduation announcements, and they swing by because we're in the neighborhood, and I just wanted to come give Miss Lori a hug. I mean, it means the world.
That's so nice. So your office, you're in downtown Conroe.
Yes, ma'am.
Over on
We're right off of North Thompson Street.
Thompson, yes. I'm trying to picture the streets in my
Right
mind.
across from the antique
Yeah, I know
store.
exactly where it is. Yeah, yes. Conroe Central Market.
Yes.
You're right across the street from. And you've been there a while, right?
Yes, I've been there since oh my gosh, I want to say 13 years. A friend of mine, Margaret Alexander, my dear friend, she and I purchased that bottom portion of the building, and I want to say it's been 13 years this December.
Is Simonton still over? Simonson?
Steve Simonson,
Yeah.
He actually has gone out to West Texas. He
Oh,
is,
okay.
I
I knew
believe
he
he's with
was
the
over there.
county attorney's office now out there.
Just side note, just wondering.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So how many staff do you have in your office?
So we have kind of a job sharing concept. I have 2 paralegals that essentially share duties, and then they kind of trade days. One works certain days, the other one works certain days, and then I have a full-time office manager. So essentially, I would say probably, counting them, I'd say probably about 2.2 if you were to look at a full. See, there's that corporate
but
side. I can't
you
help
have
it.
people that you have to manage.
Yes, ma'am.
And of course, you have your own court docket schedule.
Yes,
all
ma'am.
of that.
Yes, ma'am.
So, so you told me a little bit about your background and your experience, and why do you think you're the most qualified?
I believe because of my actual hands-on experience from being out in the field. It's hard to understand what it's like on this side of the bench, being the practicing side, unless you've done it before. So you have issues like what we call discovery, which is when we make requests for documents, or interrogatories where we ask you to make a sworn answer. Sometimes there's complications with that. Again, bringing in experts, there's complications with getting those reports. If you are asking the court to give you an extension or asking the court to make a ruling on something, it's very difficult to expect that court to do it if they haven't been in the shoes of having to actually fill out and do discovery or understand what it means to have to interview and examine or cross-examine an expert. I believe it would be very difficult to truly be able to judge what the real needs are if you haven't ever experienced that side. I think also being on the side of holding your client's hand or putting your arm around them when they're walking into a courtroom for the first time, those people are terrified. This is an environment they've never been into. And they're getting to have a complete stranger make a decision about what's going to happen to their family.
And yes, I was going to say, there's nothing more stressful than your
No,
family
exactly.
having to go through different different things, and this is everything. Your kids,
Exactly.
your family.
Exactly.
You know?
And so when you're trying to help manage that, we are called attorneys and counselors at law for a reason. You know, whether it be walking into the courtroom, whether it be someone that's bitter because they just found out their husband or wife had been cheating on them and this is what I'm going to do. You know, my role, I believe, what I always try to do with my clients is to talk them off the ledge, for lack of a better word. Let's sit down and talk about it. Let's be reasonable. Let's think about what the long-term impact is going to have on your family by doing that. We gain nothing by going and cutting and hurting someone in the family, because then we have to figure out how to co-parent down the road. Again, if you haven't done that and spent the time while your client's crying in front of you, holding their hand, telling them it's going to be okay, I don't think you can truly understand what they are going through when you walk into the courtroom. And I think that is absolutely critical in order to have the compassion from sitting at the bench to be able to understand what that family is going through. Some of it can be staged. We see it all the time. There's great performers out there. But I think if you've done it, you can recognize what's real and what's not. And I've been doing it now for almost 18 years.
So you're very passionate.
Extremely.
So your opponent is a sitting judge right
She
now.
is.
And is she a judge for this court?
I don't understand the question. You mean, is she currently sitting as County Court at Law 3?
Yes.
Yes, she is. She was appointed by the when Judge McDonald, the prior judge, stepped down in the middle of her term. The commissioners appointed the current sitting judge to fulfill the remainder of the vacancy of that term.
So that's her role
Yes,
right
ma'am.
now. Okay. So she hasn't had the experience of day-to-day like you have, in contrast.
Correct.
Okay. That's all I'm getting at. Okay. So tell me, I know you're all about efficiency and developing relationships with the kids primarily.
Yes.
And letting them know that you are looking out for them.
Absolutely.
Advocating for them for the best thing. What is a couple of things that you would want voters to know besides what you've already told me? Is there anything else?
I think it's important for voters to understand that I have been in Montgomery County since 1997. When I moved here and established myself here, I've been here extensively that entire time. I have 2 children that have been here. We are now up in Willis. I'm very proud of them. Have to put in a plug for our son. We just got accepted to Baylor University. So,
Oh my gosh.
so you know, Bear Claw.
I was up there just yesterday.
Well, thanks to my husband who
Yeah.
also went there. I think he's been indoctrinating them with I call it the green Kool-Aid, but here we go. So we're very proud of him. But they both went to a private school here because we feel that faith is very strong in our beliefs in our families. So we went to a private Christian school. Both of them did for a period of 10 years because I wanted them to have faith in their daily lives.
You want them to have that background, that
Absolutely.
structure.
And, you know, the way a lot of our public schools are, especially when they were starting, they weren't getting that. So I think that having faith-based in that aspect of their lives, in our lives, is critical. Let's face it, it's not in our hands. It's in God's hands. I think it's also important to know I'm a property owner, not only here within Montgomery County, but also within downtown Conroe. I own my building where I practice out of very proudly. And so I understand the needs when it comes to the investment within our community, the investment within our city. I think it's also important that I have gone and made numerous gifts back to the communities. I have served in civic organizations, for example, Conroe Noon Lions Club. I've been a member for 11 years, and for the record, that's the best Lions Club in the world. I would urge everybody to look into that.
I've been a past Lions Club member.
They're great.
And Kiwanis and Rotary.
I've also served on I'm currently serving on 2 boards that assist and help with children. First one is what we call Access Builds Children. The short name is ABC. This program provides for supervisory services where children can see their parents. Just because parents may make some mistakes, there's no reason for the children to be punished by that, because they still need that relationship with mom and dad while mom and dad are trying to heal and get back on track. Otherwise, the child will feel abandoned. So we have put together that program. I've worked very hard, been on that board since 2015. We got to the point
quite a while.
It has, and we almost lost it for lack of funding. And so there's a group of us that got together.
Yeah, I hadn't heard about them in quite a while.
Well, we have gone and went from almost closing the doors, and then we have a great team through our board that worked very hard and went extensively, and literally in a period of, I would say, maybe 2 to 3 days, raised over $7,000 to be able to invest back into the organization just to keep the doors open, and we have grown since. We're very blessed. The city of Conroe allows us to utilize the Oscar Johnson Center, and we have now gone from servicing a handful of children that would come through there on a Saturday, every first, third, and fifth Saturday, to now we run 2 separate sessions every first, third, and fifth Saturday, now servicing approximately 80-plus families. So ABC is doing great. We have a great team that's in place.
It's good to know. I heard about them many years ago.
Yes. Well, let me tell you, they are thriving. They're doing a great job. The second board that I joined in 2020 is a group called Love Heals Youth.
Tell me about that one.
And so that group is focused on providing no-cost mental health services for children primarily in foster care, especially older children, the teen children, trying to gear and prepare them as they are moving through their lives, get them the necessary training that they need, the skills they need, vocational, everyday life skills, anything like that, and then trying to help them understand and realize that it's not their fault while they're in the foster program. Because so many of them also, again, feel abandoned, feel like it's their fault, they've given up, and if they don't get some assistance and guidance in getting themselves right, then what happens is you see them fall into either the juvenile system or the criminal system, which is tragic because they didn't ask to be there, which comes back to my other theme. The children, they don't deserve to be in the middle. And even the children in foster care end up in the middle because they have nowhere else to go. So we're trying to help them. For example, Treehouse is a perfect example of when you have children that originally interns that are currently working with Love Heals Youth were assisting those children, and then they were told, we don't need you anymore, and then look what happens. Treehouse gets closed down, we find out that those children were being abused, and then they have no beds. And so what we're doing is really started cranking this up, again, as a nonprofit organization to get some help out to those kids and trying to let them know that there is a hope. We're also working with other entities like Family Promise and the Rainbow Bridge and trying to get other things where if the child finishes in this location, where do we go next? Or maybe we can get you some help for the next stage in your life. So as you can tell, I'm
You're so
hugely
excited.
passionate about it.
No,
I do. I get excited about it.
And that's, I guess, what I want people to hear, that you don't just want to be a judge, but this is your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, your personal life with your own kids and, of course, the legal side of it, but you also volunteer your time for the kids. So
and
you
not
don't
just
have
the
a lot of
kids.
time, I guess, right now, do you? Especially running as a candidate?
Well, it gets a little tricky. There's not a whole lot of sleep. I tell everybody I have new luggage. Left eye and right eye are my new carry-ons. But, it's one of those things, and it's not just the children. We have to remember the other people that enter our society. For example, Thanksgiving Eve, I was out there helping serve for free meals with Joe Halidi. God bless that man. He's amazing. For first responders, along with a number of people, to try to help give back and say thank you. And so that takes 2.5, 3 hours of my time, but can you imagine, that is nothing compared to what those people give back to us. To go out to these music festivals like we had at Heritage Park or like we just had over there in the Woodlands. And here these are, this is free for folks to be able to come in there. You get the vendors that are going out there advertising for themselves. And kids get to come and play, and you make it about the children. You make it about where the parents can have a little time off. I mean, when you do stuff like that and you give back and you see, it touches your heart. And if that doesn't sit here and say, and I truly believe in the role, I believe as a judge, you are a servant. You're not here as a judge. You're not here because I want to be the person in power. You're here to serve. And our job is to serve the community and to serve the people within our community. And my mentality on why, to finally get to your question, I believe if I can look at how many children I've touched now, I've already affected hundreds of children. If I can do that much here on my own as a single practitioner, imagine how many families I can touch and hopefully help if I'm up there at a higher level. And so that is my goal.
I love it. So on that note, as a judge, don't you think that you need to be kind of like how teachers are in the community, how they don't want them doing things that are irresponsible, that people look at you and you cannot engage in things that people, or kids for that matter, youth, children, would go, wow, that's a judge and they just did that? Just thinking out loud.
Well, sure. I mean, you're setting an example.
All the time.
I mean,
everywhere you go.
But I think it's also important for people to see that just because you are a judge does not mean that you're not human.
Well, that's true too.
It's okay.
You know, you are going to make mistakes because, again, it happens.
Well, and
but
rather than look at it from the standpoint of mistakes, but it's okay to laugh. It's okay to have fun.
No, absolutely.
I mean, how
no,
many?
what I'm thinking is that you wouldn't be. Let's just throw something crazy out there. You wouldn't be engaging in doing illegal drugs or running the roads drunk or doing things that people would go, really? This is our judge?
Right.
You know, because people do look at you, and especially children
Absolutely.
that you're working with. Why should I respect this person if they're doing these things out publicly? I don't know.
You are clearly held to a higher standard. You know, it's kind of like when we practice law, for example, when I got board certified in family law back in 2017. One of the requirements is that you are now held to a higher standard as a practicing attorney.
Always. Not for any other reason, but just because.
Exactly. I mean, if you're
That's your role.
If you're going to get that title and you're going to get that piece of paper to hang on the wall, you are held to that higher standard.
Correct.
If you're going to actually sit here and say, I want to serve the people and I'm asking for your vote, I feel like you earn that every single day.
And of course, that goes along with temperament of a judge.
Sure.
All of that as well. And this is not thinking of anyone in particular when I ask that. That is just a very general question that you are held to a higher standard.
Absolutely. And I think it's also important, and I have to use my husband as an example. Obviously,
Who's retiring, right?
Who is retiring? He's running.
County
like
Court of Law 1.
Yes, he's running like his hair's on fire. Bless his heart. But after 24 years on the bench, he will have earned it. Wow. So in his defense. But, you know, he has always had this wonderful demeanor from the bench that when you walk in, it's okay to smile. It's okay to say good morning. It's okay to recognize that as these folks are walking in, again, they're terrified. And so it's okay if they're upset to say, ma'am, it'll be okay. Let's just try and get through this process. Or do you need a break? Or whatever
It's
that
called
may
being
be.
real, right?
Well, the golden rule.
Yeah.
I mean, how would I want to be treated if I were in that
Absolutely.
position? And I think sometimes it's easy to forget that because, you know, even in everyday day life, whether it be you, me, anybody, and judges, sometimes it's been a long day. Sometimes
Yes.
you're frustrated. And it is very hard to keep that in check sometimes, but I think that that is our duty. I think that is our duty to be able to show people this, lead by example, for lack of a better word, serve by example. One of the things that I had pointed out to some folks that I had met with this weekend is if you're going to be in this role, there's no reason why someone in an official capacity can't still be out there serving those first responders. Judge Wayne Mack is a perfect example of that. He is everywhere. And he is constantly giving back to this community. And I would love to see more of that. And I'm sorry, when you get in the habit of doing it for 10 or 11 years, that switch isn't getting turned off. So I'm
get
still going
that.
to be out there.
I get that, Laura. Half my time is spent doing things
Absolutely.
for others.
Absolutely.
Non-paid
Well,
things.
yeah, unfortunately, that's the way it is.
It is
But
what
you
it
know
is.
Then that's
It
when you get
doesn't
to go
matter.
Home. Well, you go home with an open, full heart
Absolutely.
when you truly do it because you want to do it.
I agree. So any closing words? Where can people connect with you?
So you can connect with us. We have a Facebook page. If you're on Facebook, you can find me under Elect Laura Watson. It is a public page. I would please go on there. You can see all of the things that we're doing and the places we're going, the events that we are attending. You can also get with us on our website that I will tell you is still a work in progress, so please don't pass judgment too early. But that is...
Judgment?
Pardon the pun. But that's Laura Watson for Judge, and you can either use the number 4 or the word 4, F-O-R,
nice.
.com. You know, we thought we'd just make it easy for everybody. You can also email us at our email, which is winwithwatson1@gmail.com. And those are probably the quickest, easiest ways to get in touch with us. We have on our Facebook page, if you want to sign up to be a volunteer, we would be honored. You can submit that and just fill it out online and send it to us, and then we can get you on a roster to call. We have early voting coming up on February 14th through the 25th. And so we would love to have you out there and come assist us. And if nothing else, come get to know us. Come get to know me. Ask me whatever questions you want. I try to attend as many community events as I can so that way I can meet people. And I welcome it. And I look forward to the opportunity.
So if
to get
somebody
to know
wants to speak with you one-on-one, should they send you a message on Facebook or?
That's probably the easiest way.
Okay.
Or even just through an email, or even you can call my office, which is area code 936-756-5400, and just let us know that you would like to schedule an appointment. And probably what we would do is schedule a phone call if that's okay. Just because I'm usually running, I can do that from the road. But absolutely, I would love to be able to visit. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do as I go out in the public now, and I would welcome the opportunity to talk to people and get to know folks, and more importantly, earn the honor of that vote.
Well, fabulous. Thank you, Laura. This is Laura Watson, a candidate for County Court of Law 3.
Yes, ma'am.
3. Don't confuse it
That's
with
right.
1, 2, 4, 5, or 6. 3.
3. Just remember, win with Watson.
Win with Watson. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you so much, Ms. Margie. I appreciate it.